Okay, we are recording. Wonderful. So again, thank you for joining this evening on learning about the lean canvas, preparing a visual business plan, a snapshot of your current thinking. So as Carrie, one of our attendees today, mentioned earlier, she was asking about the business model canvas. Well, the business model canvas is very similar. Oh, did my screen stop sharing? I apologize if it did.
Yes, you stopped sharing.
I just clicked on a different thing. I apologize. Admit. Let's try this again. Okay, we'll do that. And hopefully, okay, there we go. I'll minimize that. Everyone can see the lean canvas. So this is the lean canvas, and what we'll be doing today is walking through each 9 of these segments. This is there we go. An alternative to writing a traditional business plan. So business plans are fantastic for many, many reasons. And I will actually be presenting on how to write a traditional business plan next week. But in the meantime, we want to consider about how lengthy business plans can often be, how much time you end up taking to prepare them, and the purpose of them essentially. So a lean canvas, as we'll be walking through today, as you'll see, is visual, whereas the business plan itself, whether it's 10 pages or 100 pages, can often be very, very long, and it's not as visual, so you can't get the quick snapshot of what you're planning on doing with your business. A traditional business plan, as well, as you're maybe not as likely to refer to it as on an ongoing basis. You might write it and then put it on your bookshelf and never look at it again. In addition to that, you might not update it because it's stuck on your bookshelf and you can't see it. So in that sense, it becomes dormant. So what we're looking at today is how we can take the information that you have planned out for your business and put it on paper, but making it visual, making it quick, and making it simple. So the lean canvas is one of those awesome solutions. So as Carrie mentioned earlier, there is such thing as the business model canvas. If you actually do a quick Google of that, you'll see what the business model canvas looks like. And there are, I believe, 9 fields as well. However, just slightly different in some areas. Some are the same, but others aren't. So the lean canvas was adapted by a gentleman named Ash. I don't know how to say his last name. My apologies, Murray, and or Moray. And essentially, it's your 1-page business plan. The purpose of it being, again, that you can see your entire business on 1 page. It's easy to update, it's easy to make changes, and it's easy to really take a look and say, am I missing any major pieces, the fundamentals of the business? So through that, it's visual, it's concise, and that you're taking those ideas and taking your assumptions that will be put into a group of 9. Sorry, I just had someone join in. I'll just admit them. And hi, everyone who just joined. We just got started, so you can just sit back and hopefully you're able to see our screen. Oh, and that just went away now. Trying to find. There we go. We should be good again. And so the purpose of the lean canvas, of course, is that it only takes about 20 to 30 minutes to complete. And as we'll walk through, you're only completing 1 canvas per customer segment. So again, you'll be able to, if you're in the stages or planning stages of a business, this is a perfect opportunity to ensure that you have not missed any key areas, that you have no gaps, and that you are ensuring that you have everything in order before you actually proceed with starting. If your business is already operational, oh, we have one more person in the lobby, apologies. If your business is already operational, then you can still use the lean canvas. You might just find that it is a little different. The business model canvas could be used in place of the lean canvas in that sense. But today we'll walk through the lean canvas. And so to start, as I mentioned, you'll be creating one lean canvas per target customer for your customer segment. I hear someone unmuted. Yeah, just everyone want to make sure that they're muted. So your customer segments will drive the rest of the canvas, and that's why it's really important that you identify each individual customer segment, because as you'll be seeing, you're going to be solving a problem for each of your customer segments. So if you are a large business that has very different customer segments, and I'll give the example of perhaps you have, a 50-year-old male or a 50 to 70-year-old male as one customer segment, but then you might have a 20 to 30-year-old female as another customer segment. That's fine, but they're going to be wanting different things from you, very likely. So in that, you'll want to create different canvases. And so we'll walk through each of these segments. Now, today, to make maybe a little more simple for everyone and to hopefully generate some ideas for yourself and to maybe spark some curiosity or help just maybe put more meaning behind some of the lean canvas information, I'll be walking through an example that I've created of a food box subscription. So think Good Food or HelloFresh or one of those. So with that, we'll get started in walking through each segment. So again, this is the lean canvas itself. We're going to start in the order you'll see. Customer segment is 1, we'll move over to 2, 3, etc. And it's good to go through these in the order labeled, because you'll find that your kind of idea gets going and it makes kind of that sequential order with how our brains process information. And just so you're aware, of course, this will be recorded as I am doing. We'll send out the recording as well as the lean canvas, in addition to the presentation that I'm showing today, as well as a worksheet. And the worksheet that will be sent out is just in a Word document, but it's meant to essentially help you jot down maybe some extra information as it pertains to your business specifically. So the goal is here that you'll be essentially writing down. You could use sticky notes, or you could jot down directly in this lean canvas itself your ideas, and think concise. We're not going into incredibly lengthy detail here. We're not writing the fluffy business plan or adding that extra jargon that would create, lengthy paragraphs. We're getting to the point because this is your snapshot of your business. So let's start with our customer segments. Number 1. So essentially what we want to do here is break down, again, as I mentioned, if you think you have your one customer segment versus another, pick one. For the sake of today, we're going to just walk through one customer segment. Now, what we want to ensure we're not doing is narrowing our focus too much, because we'll limit our options. So if, as I mentioned earlier, if one of my customer segments I said was 50-year-old male, and maybe he loves dogs and he's a football fan, and he is married with 2 kids. But no, my customer segment can't be a 60-year-old man. Well, all of a sudden I've narrowed myself so much that now I have such a small focus that it's really hard to target or fill out the rest of the canvas and cater to that customer based off such a small focus. But if you are too broad, if I said it could be a 18-year-old gentleman to an 80-year-old gentleman, and maybe he's married, maybe he's not, maybe he just graduated university, maybe he's retired, all of a sudden I've created such a large scope that we really don't understand who we're speaking to. So this is through kind of marketing 101, the old saying of, if you try to sell to everyone, you will sell to no one. So if you think about that, you really start to get a sense of, okay, maybe my customer segment is 50-year-olds to 65-year-olds. They might be in retirement stage or nearing it. Maybe they're married or potentially divorced. They have 3 kids, and they're all in just graduating high school or university or college or the trades, and they have an income of this or that, from 80,000 to 160,000 maybe for their household income. So you start to give yourself a little bit of a wiggle room, but not so much that we've lost the sense of who these customers could be. So a few things to point out, again, just as a great reminders here, as I mentioned, if you try to sell to everyone, you will sell to no one. The purpose of that is understanding the customer so we understand what they need, what they want. The best customers see value in paying. So remember this, everyone who says they might need it or, sorry, they might want it, they might need it, but who's actually willing to pay for it? Those are your customers. Those who want it but won't buy it aren't your customers. Those who need it but won't buy it are not your customers. Or maybe they're the potential customers that now you need to try to really sell to, but who's willing to pay for it? If any of you know of Simon Sinek, he has a really great video focused on the why versus the what, and he's known for saying the people do not buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Again, people aren't just buying your features, they're buying why, and he'll give an example of Apple products, right? People aren't necessarily buying Apple products because they're superior to Androids. They're buying Apple products because it means something to them. The brand means something to them, right? So we start thinking of those. Now, what we'll go through now, I'll give the example of through my food box subscription. We want to highlight, again, in our first segment here, we have at the very top, you'll notice I've said list your, oh, I can't actually read that small, list your target customers and users. And so here is where I'm going to identify my first customer segment as young social adults who are located within a 100-kilometer radius of Saugeen Shores, that's where I live, and like to eat good cuisine for dinner. So what I've done there is I've identified the overall target segment, right? It's not too broad, it's not too narrow. However, I've given a radius. It is important geographically to think about who you're trying to sell to, because that changes everything. If you're selling 100 kilometers away or across the country or worldwide, right? Or if you're looking at expanding into different storefronts, etc. So right now, I'm going to say I'm starting my business in Saugeen Shores and it's new and I want to try this out. So I'm going to stay small and think 100 kilometers. Now at the bottom of the lean canvas, you'll see these early adopters section. So once you've identified your customer segment overall, now your early adopters, you're going to identify those traits. Oh, and we just, sorry, had one more person join. You're going to identify those traits that help really narrow down a little bit more and provide a little more information with regards to who these people are. The early adopters, for those of you who don't know, are the people who are most likely to purchase your product or service from the very beginning of you launching. They're not the laggers or the late adopters. They're the people who are going to jump on first thing. And so with that, I've decided that, okay, these social young adults are likely going to be 27 to 35. It does sound like a narrow kind of bracket, but at the same time, I've expanded a lot in the sense of I'm saying they're both male and female. I'm not catering to just one sex. They're young working professionals, so they're all employed. They're social. They love to socialize. They love going out. They love being active with their friends and family. They potentially are common law or married as per their age, and they have a household income of 80 to 160,000. So right there, again, I've identified enough about that individual segment to say, here's my kind of bracket that I'm working with. Now, again, I could very well also have a second customer segment where I would create a different lean canvas for. And let's just say for the sake of this, it's not on the PowerPoint, but let's just say that my second lean canvas is individuals from 40 to 60. And they also are mostly male and female working professional, but maybe they're not as active. Maybe they don't, they're not as physically active. And sorry, I have a lot of people popping on right now. But they're still very social and they likely are married at that point. Their household income perhaps is even higher because they're older and they've been more established in their careers. So I've once again identified a second segment, but it might be different the way that the rest of the lean canvas is completed. So now that I've identified the early adopters of who's most likely to jump on and start buying my product right out of the get-go here, I am going to move on to the second quadrant. So we've filled out the customer segments, number one. Now what we're going to do is look at the problem section. And through the problem, I apologize if you can't read this, but this says list your top 1 to 3 problems. So what the lean canvas does is says every customer that you're selling to has a problem. Most people start businesses because they're solving a problem. They're providing something that either hasn't been provided before, or they're doing it differently, or they're doing it cheaper, or they're doing it more sustainably, something. And the reason they're doing it is because there's a problem in that specific industry. So from here, what we're going to do is look at the top 1 to 3 problems of those early adopters. So these individuals I've reached out or I've identified here, I now need to dissect them a little more through some market research of my own, maybe talking with them, looking at secondary research already presented, and figuring out what their problems are with regards to, in my case, food subscription boxes, right? So there's a few different ways that you can actually go through and identify problems through the lean canvas. One is to ask the 5 whys to find the root cause of the problem. Another is to ask, what is the job the customer is actually hiring me to do? Why did someone give me money? What do they want me to provide for them? And just a quick point here is that customers seek solutions to their problems, seek solutions to their symptoms. Appeal to the symptoms, treat the root cause. So when we think about that, if you went to the doctor and said, Doc, my back is killing me. I am so sore every day. I can't do anything. The doctor, let's say as the business, isn't just going to write it off and say, I'll just give you some pills. They're going to treat the root cause because that's the doctor's job. So they're going to start finding out, asking you questions about your job, your ergonomics of your desk or what you do. Did you have injuries previously? They're going to try to figure out what the root cause was of that problem. However, to you, the customer, they're going to appeal to your symptoms. So they're going to say, hey, in the meantime, here's some drugs, here's some pain meds so that you can actually get active again and not have back pain. So you as the customer now have been helped because your symptoms have been helped. But your root cause is what the doctor really wants to treat, which is the problem that they'll be solving. So as your business owner, remember, we got to dig down deep to figure out what the real problem is. That's the root cause. It's not necessarily the symptoms. However, we want to appeal to those. So it can sound a little tricky when we say that, but let's walk through the 5 whys. So in my case of my food box business, if I were to ask some people some questions, ask my customers these questions, I just keep asking why, get some information from them. They could say, I never cook a healthy and tasty dinner. Why? Cooking dinner every day is hard. Why? I don't have time to shop for food or to cook. Why? Because my job and social life are busy. Why? Because I am ambitious with my career and I enjoy time with my friends and family. Why? Because those things are important to me. So as you've seen, I've just kept asking why. Why, until I found out the root cause. Family and friends and their career are important to them. That's their problem that I've identified, is that they don't want to waste time shopping and cooking dinner because they would rather be successful with their job and spending time doing the things they love with the people they love. So that's a problem. Now, if I were to do the other question and ask simply, what did you hire me to do for you? Someone could say, well, actually, I'm buying your food box because I want a healthy, easy to make, low impact meal. I want a sustainable meal. I also want to have more time with my friends and family, right? That's what they hired me to do. Okay, so there's the problems that essentially I've had answered directly by just asking them. So, Kim, we have, if you want to just mute yourself. Oh, and I have, sorry, one person is waiting to join. No, and it's not working. And so on the lean canvas as well, once we've identified those kind of we've asked the whys and we started to dig deep a little bit further. What is the problem? What are we trying to solve? What is the issue? Once we've identified those, we're going to go down to this section, existing alternatives. And it says list how these problems are solved today. So this is really important, as existing alternatives are essentially your competition. How does the customer already solve this problem? So what we want to identify here, in my case, is the food subscription box. Well, I go, people could be dining out at local establishments already. They could be ordering takeout instead and just eating at home. They could be cooking from home or from frozen at home, or maybe they're just snacking. They're not eating dinner at all. You know, they just are so busy with their wonderful social lives and their career that they just munch on some, you know, crackers and cheese when they get home and have an apple and have a popcorn later or something. And they're not really eating a hearty dinner or a healthy dinner because they just don't have the time. So those are already some of their ways they're solving their problems. And again, this is important to do because, and you'll notice in the worksheet that I'll give you as well, I give some space to fill out who those competitors are. And essentially you'll lay out what their strengths and what their weaknesses are. It's really important, no matter what industry of business you're in, that you identify your competitors. And remember that there's indirect competitors out there as well. Example, all these ones I've mentioned essentially are indirect. If I were HelloFresh, Good Food is my direct competition. But if I'm HelloFresh, dining out at a local restaurant, takeout, at-home frozen meals, snacking, those are all indirect competition. They're providing a different way to solve a problem, i.e., someone's hungry, they're getting food in their bellies. So there's indirect competition, which should be identified as well. So the problem is one of the most important parts of this whole lean canvas, because that's why you're in existence. So really make sure that you're identifying the root cause of the problem. Here, we've identified people want to spend time with their family and friends because they're important to them. Of course, when you identify a problem, you want to also identify your solution. And so this is where we're really diving into how will you deliver the value to the customers. So for every problem, we want to say, here's our solution to it. This is identified through your, or one way to do it is through looking at your minimal viable product. This is the smallest solution you can build that still delivers customer value or solves the problem. So through this, what we're looking at again is, we don't want to sound cheap, but what we want to identify is, what is the smallest amount of effort, resources, finances, investment that we can do or input to help solve that problem? Because of course we're running a business, so we don't want to exhaust all of our efforts when we can do it cheaper or faster or more effectively so that we're still solving that problem. And so what we're looking at here is, I've identified some of the problems. For each of those problems, I'm saying here's a solution. So, okay, people, it's all about time, right? It's all about that shopping and that cooking time. Okay, well, meal is dropped off right at the front door. People don't have to go to the grocery store anymore. Hey, but they're healthy and they're active and they want to stay fit and strong. There you go. We've got healthy meal options. Quick cook times, so they keep that time with their family and friends. And it's easy and quick to pre-order online. Once again, you're saving time. So all in all, I've identified many of those problems, but the main one being, again, that they don't want to spend the time cooking or shopping. it kind of walk through the solution part quickly, because essentially when you identify your problem, you should understand too that if some people might just say their solution is, well, I'm a food box subscription business. It's all in the writing there. Well, no, we've identified what the problem is with that people have said how important their time is to them and their family, and that they want to spend all that time with them instead of cooking. They want to focus on their career instead of grocery shopping. We've identified these problems and the solutions that can help. Now, one of the most interesting, I was going to say unique, but interesting segments of this Lean Canvas is the unique value proposition. So this is really focused on how you're getting the customer's attention. It's your number one problem plus your solution. And underneath it here says a single, clear, compelling message that states why you are different and worth paying attention. So as I said, what value does the customer get after using your product or service that solves their problem? Again, the value, not the features, not the benefits. As I mentioned, Apple, right, with Simon Sinek, they buy why you do it, not what you do. So the unique value proposition isn't involving meal in a box dropped off to your door. It's not that I provide a healthy meal option. If we look at our number one problem and the solution, we are going to come up with something like this. Get back what should be yours. Time to spend doing what you love most. So what I've done there was I took the problem, sorry, right here I have the customer's problem was solved. They did not have to waste time grocery shopping or cooking a huge meal, but they still consumed healthy food. So I took the solutions, being they got their healthy food, they didn't have to shop, etc., and their problem, that they are concerned about the amount of time they spend grocery shopping and cooking. So here's the unique value proposition. This is the value. Again, that's not a feature. You can't buy that. It's not on the package. It's not what they're eating. It's not the taste. It's not the price. It's the value. So when you think something like buying a bottle of water, if you go to your local corner store and someone says, oh, that bottle of water is $10, you're going to go, whoa, I'm not spending that. That's absurd. But if you've just run a marathon throughout the desert and someone offers you a bottle of water for $10, I bet you might pay for that if you didn't have any water, because it's more valuable to you, right? So value is so important when you consider what your product or service is. Again, value is not your features or benefits. So we also have here this neat thing. If you can answer, it's not always applicable to every business, but you might want to consider something like this, taking the end result the customer wants, plus the specific period of time, plus address any of the objections. And I guess I don't have that written down. So I guess I'll just explain that one. So think about Domino's when they used to have get your pizza in 30 minutes or less, or it's free. So that's what they did there. That was their value proposition. Now I believe they don't do that anymore because there were liabilities with driving too fast and accidents, etc. So it wasn't very safe and lots of legal aspects to it. But the point being, that's a quick way to start thinking about how maybe you could identify your unique value proposition. Are you able to answer those questions? If not, really think about answering this. What's the value they're getting? Take your number one problem and combine it with that solution, and then say, what do they get? At the bottom of the unique value proposition section, you'll see a section that says high level concept. Now, this is your creative pitch. So we have here, it's not, you don't necessarily have to complete this, but you might have the type of business that you can explain it like that. Like Jaws, but in for aliens. how unique, right? People go, oh, I know Aliens is a movie. Wait, oh, I know Jaws. No way. They all of a sudden understand that. So another is YouTube equals video. Have 30 seconds to really sell that business to someone. You say, oh yeah, it's like Jaws, but in space. Oh, okay, I get it. It's a little more meaningful to them. So if you have the ability to fill out that section, that is great. We'll move on to number 5. Number 5 is our revenue streams. Now, I very much so encourage, in addition to filling out the lean canvas, even if you don't ever create a business plan, I really strongly encourage you to create your sales forecast, cash and cash flow statements. It's very important that you understand the finances of your business on an even basic level. You can hire your bookkeeper and hire your accountant to do the things you don't know how to do, but understanding your finances is ultimately one of the main goals of running your business. But with this, we want to just get a snapshot of each of these sections through revenue and cost. Now, with the revenue stream, what we're looking at is really how are you going to price your product or service? So you want to understand that again, as we mentioned, the value is the utmost importance. Consider the value you're providing them. What did I say about the cost of water, right? So if I'm selling it at the corner store in downtown, I'm going to charge $1 or $1.25. But if I'm selling at the end of the marathon in the Sahara Desert, I can probably mark my product up or my cost up a little because people are willing to pay for it because the value has increased for them. So this is where you really want to think. I hear lots of entrepreneurs, especially in the service-based business, where they really struggle in identifying what their services are really worth, because it's hard to identify and really pinpoint the value of something that isn't a widget, that isn't created. It's information. So you really need to dissect that a bit and understand what value you're providing. Don't underprice yourself. Lots of times if you underprice yourself, all of a sudden you've diminished your value. You may appeal to people who are more cost efficient and they are looking for low cost items, which is fine. But if you've identified your target market as, the Sally and the Sue and the women in between who make this much money, but you've priced your product significantly lower than what they would typically pay because that's what they value, you've completely missed your target market. So always think about who you're selling to, what they're willing to pay, and again, relating that to the value you're providing them. So we're positioning our solution against the early adopters, essentially. So when we think about, again, how we're pricing our products, we say value-based. Customers pay for the value you supply them. Also consider that customers compare your prices based on their existing alternatives. The competition you've identified in the problem section, that's what they're already paying. That's what they're already doing to solve the problem you've identified. So now think about those competitors and what they're charging. Now think about the value your business is providing instead of those competitors, and you can help increase, hopefully, your selling prices. So for my example, I'm going to just lay out again, this is revenue streams. I've got a lot of different type of options, but I'm going to decide that I'm going to lay out my pricing points based off of several factors. One being the type of cuisine, but then in addition to that, the ease of prep. So if I have casual dining, maybe it's, burgers and fries type thing. However, my customers like healthy food. So maybe it's a low fat burger or a chicken burger on a, gluten-free bun or something with lots of salad for the side and a balsamic vinaigrette dressing instead of ranch, etc. but it's an easy prep, meaning everything comes already cut up. They don't have to do much work. I'm going to charge $10 a serving. But let's say I provide that same meal and everything is it's whole. I'm giving them an onion whole. I'm giving the patties. You have to mix all the stuff yourself. It's not pre-made. They have to cut the bun, all those extra little steps. People, now it saves me time and money as in my business, but it's more expensive, or it's causing them a little bit more time. I can charge them less because I haven't required that much overhead on my end. All of a sudden I have middle end and easy prep meals for $12 a serving, middle and moderate prep for $10 a serving, and then let's go fine dining cuisine for $18 a serving, or I could do that high prep for $16 a serving. So what we've done here is just quickly identified, here's my main products, and here's what I'm going to charge for them. And that's the snapshot that you want in the lean canvas. You don't want to go into too much detail. It's, do you understand your products? And do you know your price points? Just point blank. Do you know what you're going to charge? You jot that down here and put them on your stickies, or just write them right in there. The next section that we're looking at is the channels. And essentially this is, how will you build a path to your customers, i.e. we're looking at marketing. How are you going to market to your customer segment? Now, in this section specifically, we want to think about when you're a startup, you might not, very likely might not have that much money floating around to really push your products or services. So you want to consider low cost, low resources for the channels being the way that you're selling, the mediums through which you're marketing your product. So I could give the example, well, for my food subscription boxes, I'm going to say Facebook and Instagram advertisements and boosts, because it doesn't cost me to be on Facebook. I can post free on Facebook and Instagram, but I could also put a few bucks towards some ads here and there. Maybe I'll do Google display ads, which do cost money, yes. However, they can have high impact, because what I'm going to do is my research and understand through my customers, knowing they're 27 to 35 years old and they like this sport and they have a common law or married partner. And they enjoy healthy foods and they love being active and social. So I know where they shop, what they do, what means what's special things identify who they are. There's psychographics. So I know where they shop, and I can say I all of a sudden want to have a Google display ad pop up on this website or this industry's website because I know they like that. So I've done my research again. This all ties into it. Versus, let's say the other customer segment, lean canvas I was creating for the 40 to 60-year-olds, I might post on different websites because they're a different customer. They don't shop at the same places, but they're still my customers. So you identify those with who you're targeting. That's why it's so important to really, really understand who your target customer is. Now, I also say maybe I'll have a booth at a local food fair, showcasing meals and easy cooking. So, you know, I think back to when we could meet in person, and let's say the Southampton market, the Rotary Club would throw the food and home show, or home and food show, and they'd have the food vendors in the back, and it was fantastic. Everyone got to say, here's our meals, here's the food we provide. What a great opportunity to showcase my food. Or I could also do the local contest giveaway, right? Someone say everyone likes the page and shares it and this and that, and all of a sudden I put them in the draw and they win a free month just on me to try out the food. Great way. It's low cost for me. I'm just giving away some free product, but it builds up that hype and hopefully gets some more followers and more buyers. And so that's the channels revenue specific, again, for the customer segment. I'm really highlighting this because working with entrepreneurs, often they've made their customer segment so broad that they think everyone will buy my product or service. Everyone loves ice cream, 2-year-olds to 80-year-olds. And I say, well, yeah, they do a lot of 2-year-olds love ice cream and a lot of 80-year-olds and everyone in between, but not everyone, right? And who's buying the ice cream? And what kind of ice cream are you providing? What cost are you providing? A lower cost or a higher cost? More, or, you know, made right in your storefront? And what's the consideration of people's diets or food restrictions or what have you? So again, you really want to think about who your target market is, because that changes every section of the lean canvas. The channels will be different when you're marketing to different people. So the next section is key metrics. Now, this is something that I love because I'm a data kind of lady. I love to make sure that we're reaching our targets within our organization and our economic development team. And same goes for you as a business. You want to know how you measure success. It's so important to have benchmarks for what defines if you're doing enough, if you've reached your goals. So there's 2 different sections of key metrics that we'll walk through. One is your key customer action. This is the action that drives value for your customer. So you are going back to thinking, what measures your unique value proposition? So for instance, I might say with my food box, well, I need repeat customers. That's the key action I need to happen. And what I mean by that is I don't have someone buying 3 weeks of food boxes and then never coming back. I need at least 4 of my new customers to be, or sorry, 4 out of 10 of my new customers to be repeat customers. It takes 10 times the amount of money to get a new customer as it does to keep an old one. You are way better off keeping your current customer than you are trying to get a new customer in their place. Now, I'm not saying don't get new customers, but if you want to spend as little money on your channels marketing, you want repeat customers because you don't have to actively continuously push them to buy. You're not selling them. You're keeping them engaged at that point. You're reminding them of why you have such great value that they want to come back, but you're not selling to them constantly. So that's my customer action that drives value that I've identified. The other metric is the success metric for your product. So how will you define success for the product? What do you need to achieve to make it all worthwhile? So the one is focused on the customers, right? What do they need to do to make success as your key metric? And then your others is focused on you. What do you need to make this all worthwhile? So I'm going to just throw this out there. I want $600,000 in annual sales in my first year. That's fine. That's what I've identified. Now that's my key success metric for my product. So now I have those 2 to think about constantly when I'm running my business. Am I on track to meet my goals? Number 8 is our cost structure. So just like the revenue streams, this is meant to be a snapshot. It doesn't need to be unbelievably detailed or every penny written down, but you want to get a good sense about how you're operating your business from an cash outflow standpoint, because essentially, if you're not making money, how are you going to stay in business? So what we're asking here is, how will you afford your creative addition? So here we'll outline our fixed costs and our variable costs. So I'm throwing these numbers out there. This is no way in shape or form completely accurate. I just made some information up. But I'm going to say that I'm leasing a space for my food box subscription. I need a space where all the food gets prepared and prepped and put into bags and a warehouse where they can get shipped out. So I'm going to say I'm spending $1,500 a month on my leased space. I have several employees that I pay $6,000 a month. I have insurance for $200 a month. My depreciation of equipment is at maybe $500 a month. And I'm also going to be repaying a loan at $250 a month, etc. These are the costs that, of course, that stay the same no matter what in the business. However, The variable costs, of course, change as the business change. It changes as the number of orders that come in or the number of products or services that you are selling. So in my case, the more boxes of food that I sell, I'm going to have higher inventory all of a sudden. So I think, okay, so I'm saying that my food is costing me 25% of what the retail price is of that order. I also need to consider packaging. Now I put it as a variable cost, of course, because I could go out and buy, hundreds of boxes for packaging and the the bags and everything in the containers, but maybe it changes as I buy more, right? I would have with my supplier a deal. If I buy 100 of them a month, I get it for $1.50. But if I buy 200, maybe they charge me $1.35. So it can change as the number of orders come in change. But that's what I say right now. That's what my orders are based off of. Shipping costs. So again, something to consider about how much it's costing me to ship. That could very well change with the number of orders as well. And my direct labor costs. So here I've identified wages. Well, maybe I have some people who are salaried and they are, whether they be in human resources and marketing and perhaps managers, etc., that are being paid no matter what. But my direct labor costs, I might have several employees on the floor packaging. I'm going to need more people as there's more orders. And in addition to that, maybe I can have some economies of scale. And instead of having my worker, Sally, packaging 10 products an hour, maybe she becomes more efficient as the business increases and she can do 13 orders an hour. So all of a sudden, this amount per order can change. So these are my variable costs that are going into it because she's directly impacting the cost of the meal. And then we always, if you charge credit card, always remember to include your credit card fees as part of your cash flow statement. Lots of people forget that if you're paying, accepting credit cards or debit cards, you have fees associated. So whether it be 2 or 5% every order, you really want to count that in your cost structure because it's going to drastically change the amount of take-home money you make at the end of the day. So here's some examples of our variable costs. And next, what we want to do is look at our break-even point. Of course, this is how much do we need to sell in the number of products we need to sell in order to break even, make zero profit. So that's where we're going to take the fixed costs, add these all up in addition to the extras, of course, and then we'll divide it by the unit price minus the variable cost. So if I said someone's buying the $12 box of food, and I will say add up all of these amounts per box or for that specific box, divide fixed cost by that amount. That's the number of units I need to sell to make zero money. It's really important you know that. But in addition to that, you probably want to make some money. So what we also want to look at is the break-even point for success. Now, the success part, remember, is what you identified earlier on in your key metrics. In my case, I said I want to make $600,000, in revenue. So let's just say, for the sake of this, I want to profit $100,000 in my first year of business. So now I'm going to take my fixed costs plus my profit that I want and divide that by the unit price minus variable cost. So now I know here's the number of units I need to sell if I want to reach my key metric success. Again, very important to be able to identify these, but it's not too hard to do or too cumbersome, right? It gives you that quick snapshot. So basically, again, you think about this, and I didn't mention it earlier, but I print these out. I don't know actually if you can still see my screen, but I print these out on, or my camera, sorry, on an 11 by 17 piece of paper. So they're a little bigger than your typical 8 by 11 sheet, but it gives you a little more room, but it's very visual as you can see it. You can also draw this out on a wall if you want using, yarn, or put up a big piece of cardstock poster board and just start doodling away. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, but it just makes that visual aspect where you can move that sticky or change it or put a new sticky up once you go, hey, I actually identified a better problem that's more in line with my customer segment, and work from there. And so this takes us to our last section of the lean canvas, the unfair advantage. This is all about how will you defend yourself against your competition. This is a very challenging and maybe not completely applicable section for all businesses, because not everyone has an unfair advantage, and that's okay. A lot of businesses do not have an unfair advantage in the very beginning, because this is something that is not easily copied or bought. You can't buy this. It's something that's, if it's not patented, you want to think about what you do that your customers, or sorry, your competition isn't doing, something that takes you so far away and makes you really, again, have that unfair advantage. So some examples are insider information, personal authority, existing customers, the dream team, patents, as I mentioned. So in my case of my food business, subscription box business, if I said, hey, guess what? I actually have a Michelin star chef as my #1 chef, creating all of the recipes. Gordon Ramsay or Wolfgang Puck is my chef, creating your meals that you get to eat in your own kitchen. That's an unfair advantage, because they're not I'm going to have a, why did I blink on that? A clause that says they can't work with the competition, of course, in my agreement with them, but it's a huge advantage for me. Thinking about existing customers, if you just purchased a business that already had 100,000 customers, or a great list for their e-newsletter, or you had all their emails or their phone numbers or their postal codes you could mail things to, all of a sudden that's great. You've already got an existing customer base. That's huge. Or of course, if you have a patented product that people can't copy, again, it cannot be easily copied or bought. So thinking about that, what we want to consider too is that you might not have an unfair advantage in the beginning, and that's okay. If that's the case, you leave it blank. Leave that blank, because you can get to it. And Ash, the creator of the Lean Canvas, actually mentions about Facebook as an example. They were not the very first social platform, right? And they didn't really have that unfair advantage in the beginning, but they gained it. They got it. Now they're the largest social platform in the world. So he also mentioned that there's the fast follower fast followers can be better than the first to market. When you're the very first to enter a new market, the very first to offer that product or service, you all of a sudden now are the one paving that way for all your competitors to come in, because you're the one who has to go through all the hurdles, take the time, the resources, make all of the mistakes, spend the extra money, and then someone is kind of like going snowshoeing, right? And you have someone breaking trail for you, and they're exhausted, but you're at the back and going, yeah, this isn't so bad. It's trail's already paid for me. And if you think about something like Toyota and Ford first to market, Toyota came in and said, hey, we can do this, but thanks for figuring it all out of what we can do better. Not knocking Ford at all, but Toyota's done a fantastic job. And so Ash also mentions too, the more features and passion and determination are examples of what's not an unfair advantage. I know that you're a passionate entrepreneur and that you're determined and you're going to work hard. And I know that your product has really great features, but guess what? Those features can be copied. Your passion can be replicated, or your competitor down the street might be just as passionate and determined as you are. those things can be essentially copied. So this is where you really dive into something that takes you away and farther than your competition. So you really want to think about when you really start to get that traction going in your business and you go, hey, now I have an unfair advantage. You can start using that to market. And so that is the entire lean canvas. We've walked through all 9 sections, and that's the end of the presentation. So what I'll do is I'll stop recording and we can have a conversation here if anyone would like to share any insights or ask any questions. But thank you so much for joining.